Welcome to the Explainer. Okay, let's talk about a feeling every single one of us in cybersecurity knows all too well. You're deep in a lab, you're making progress, and then you have to reboot your Kali VM. And just like that, everything's gone. Your command history, your notes, your sanity. Well, today, we're going to fix that for good.
I mean, this just hits home, right? A simple reboot doesn't just clear your terminal, it feels like it clears your brain, too. That brilliant idea you had, that specific error message you were chasing, it all just vanishes into the ether. We're calling this volatile regret, and we're putting an end to it starting now.
All right, so here's the game plan. First, we're going to tackle the problem by changing how we think about logging. Then we'll get practical with two key steps, setting up a persistent journal and adding some minimal smart auditing. After that, I'll show you how to turn all this data into killer reports, and finally, we'll talk about the common traps so you can avoid them. Let's do this.
Okay, let's dive right in. The most important thing to get right from the start is your mindset. You are not building a security operations center. All that advice about enterprise-level logging, forget it. For a lab, you're just building a small, stubborn, reboot-proof memory for your future self. That's it.
So, you have to ask yourself this one simple question. What am I really trying to prove here? The point isn't to log every single thing just in case. Especially when you're working on something like the OSCP or a hack-the-box machine, you're trying to document a very specific attack path, and you need to find that proof without wasting a single second.
And this is your magic filter. Every single logging decision we make from here on out has to answer one of these three simple questions. What ran? Who ran it? What changed? If a log entry doesn't help you with one of those, then for our purposes, it is just noise. And that noise? It's incredibly expensive. First, it chews up your VM's performance, but way more importantly, it costs you your valuable time and focus when you're trying to find that one command that broke everything. We're aiming for precision over volume every single time.
Okay, let's get our hands dirty with step 1. Seriously, if you only take one thing away from this entire explainer, make it this. We are going to make our systems journal persistent. This is the single most powerful change you can make to stop losing your work every time you reboot.
And you know what? It's incredibly easy to do. All we're doing here is creating a specific directory for the journal. Once that folder exists, systemd journalid automatically knows, hey, I should write my logs here, to the disk instead of just keeping them in memory. 4 little commands and poof, your logs now survive crashes and reboots.
But here's the pro move. We need to put some guardrails in place. Having persistent logs is awesome, but not if they fill up your entire hard drive. So, we'll pop into the config file and set a system max use limit. Think of it as a safety net that stops your logs from ever slowing down your machine.
And this is why we did all that. This is the payoff. With persistence, you unlock these amazing commands. Journal-ctl-b shows you logs from this boot session, but the real lifesaver? Journal-ctl-b-1. That shows you the logs from the session before you rebooted. It's like a time machine for debugging.
All right, awesome. Our system logs are now totally reboot-proof. Now, let's add a more precise tool to our arsenal. We're going to use auditd to track exactly what happened on the system, things like which commands were executed and which critical files got changed.
Now, to keep things simple and effective, we're going to focus our audit rules on just these 3 high-value areas. We want to know what ran, who ran it, and what changed. That's it. This helps us capture the most important stuff without, building a giant haystack factory of useless data.
And this really gets to the heart of our minimalist philosophy. We want surgical precision. We're focusing on high return on investment events, like tracking command executions or any changes to /etc/suitors. And we are actively avoiding the noisy, low ROI stuff, like watching every file in your home directory.
So here's your copy-paste starter pack. You install it, you enable it, and then you create a tiny little rules file that targets only those high-value events we just talked about. The absolute key here is that last command, aug-rules load. That's what makes sure your rules stick around after a reboot.
Okay, our tech is set up. Now for the fun part. How does this all connect to the actual goal? Because look, the point of this isn't just to have logs, it's to help you create clean, professional, and reproducible reports for things like the OSCP exam, where solid evidence is absolutely everything.
I want you to start thinking about your attacks in these distinct phases. Your new persistent logs are the proof points for each step in this timeline. You're no longer just relying on your memory, hoping you wrote something down. You have a verifiable trail of evidence for your whole attack chain.
And this brings us to a crucial habit.
As you work, use a simple little template like this in your notes. Jot down your goal, the command you ran, the output, and, here's the key, a tiny little log excerpt to prove it happened. If you do this, writing your final report becomes a simple copy and paste job. It's a game changer.
I absolutely love this quote from the source material. It's so true. You have to shift your mindset. Stop collecting screenshots for emotional support and start collecting verifiable evidence. A log entry is proof. It's reproducible. A screenshot, well, it's just a picture of what you saw.
Okay, so we've got a great setup now. But before we wrap up, let's talk about the common pitfalls, the mistakes that can make all this hard work totally useless.
The number one biggest mistake is thinking that more is better. It's not. In a lab, the log everything approach is just a form of self-sabotage. Your disk fills up, searching becomes a nightmare, and pretty soon you just start ignoring your logs completely. Stick to our minimalist goal and you'll actually use your data.
And here's the second trap. It's a sneaky one. It's just assuming that because you installed something, it's actually working. No, you have to test it. Always run a super simple command, like ID, and then immediately go look for it in your audit logs. Verify that you're actually recording what you think you're recording.
So how do we pull this all together and make it a habit, right? How do we avoid those traps without even thinking about it? The answer is a really simple pre-session ritual that takes, I promise you, less than 10 minutes.
Before you start your next lab, just quickly run through this 5-step checklist. This little pre-flight check turns logging from something you worry about into a source of quiet confidence. You can start your work knowing that your safety net is there and it's working perfectly.
Because at the end of the day, this isn't about becoming some kind of login guru. It's about spending less time guessing what you did wrong and more time focusing on what really matters, debugging faster, taking cleaner notes, and actually learning. It's about spending your time finding flags, not finding your own commands.